Hello, everybody, and welcome to one of the webinars we're delivering for you this afternoon in the COVID-19 webinars. Today, we're going to look at something around hopelessness. Now, it isn't all hopeless. It's actually about ways to stay positive during COVID. So we'll go through the slides now, and please feel any questions you have, just type them in as you go along, and I will look at them at the end. And if I can't reply to them all today, I will get back to you as soon as I can. So, if you can think back to New Year's Eve, I wonder what you were all doing then. I wonder if you were at a party, or if you were on your own, or if you were with friends. I wonder what was happening for you. And do you remember that every New Year's Eve we seem to wish for things and hope for things and dream for things and make resolutions about how we're going to be in the following year? Well, I guess this last year, none of us could ever have imagined that we would be in the moment, in the middle of a global pandemic, and yet here we are. We're in it, and we have been since early March. You know, we always talk about resolutions and what we're going to do, and often we say, well, we can't do them and give lots of excuses, but this time we've got real reasons for not being able to keep some of them. We always dream, don't we, for a new year. Many people who've had a rotten previous year say, you know, I'm just shaking off the old and starting again, and hopefully this year will be better. This year couldn't possibly be as bad. It's a chance for a new beginning. We get a different opportunity to do things. It's almost like wiping the slate clean and saying, let's start again. We set and reevaluate our goals. And we make those resolutions, usually around fitness and diet and exercise, that by about the third week in January, we don't sort of hold to. So that's normal. We all do that, or most of us do that. And also promises and future plans. We're looking to the future. We're looking to a new year, a new beginning, wiping the slate clean. So in terms of COVID, there have been some, and there will continue to be, long-term consequences of the pandemic. Individuals and us as a whole will be struggling to come to terms with the impact of this for some considerable time. There's going to be an effect on our social and economic effects. People may have lost their jobs. People may be on furlough. Whole sorts of things have happened that is going to actually impact us as we go forward from here. People have struggled with grief. About loss, perhaps the death of a loved one or a friend or colleague, the sadness associated with that loss of a place to be, a workplace. Isolation. We ran a webinar last week on isolation and talked about how many people feel isolated during lockdown and how they've managed on their own. Anxiety. This has brought up lots of anxieties for many, many people. And even if you're not predisposed to anxiety, I think most of us have felt anxious and quite fearful from time to time. There's the loss of all that we knew, and the loneliness, and all of those things go together. And of course, that can lead us to feel quite hopeless about what our future might look like. Remember the goals we had on New Year's Eve? How many of you have achieved any of them to now? Probably not few, not many of us. People have had weddings cancelled and social events cancelled, and we all feel from time to time a little bit hopeless. But this is something much worse than this, I think. I think when we talk about feeling helpless or hopeless, we feel sort of out of control. We can't control the situation. We can't control what's happening to us. And we end up feeling hopeless and resigned to, well, this is how it is. And some people ask questions. Why me? Why is this happening to me? Why us? What have we done that's so wrong? We're all asking, when will things return to how they were? And the reality is they're not going to. And basically, to what we all assumed as normal, we're asking, will we ever get through this? Will we ever get through this? Is there an end in sight? And that's when we start projecting forward into the future. But those of us who had those goals at the beginning of the year are now maybe thinking, well, there's no point because they're not going to come to fruition. But we do need to keep hopeful. Hope provides us with that positive mindset needed to move us forward. If we're always living in the past, we can't really look to the future. So we need to be quite positive around that. Feeling hopeful is motivating and helpful. We have a goal, we have something to aim for, something to strive for. It's also good for our self-esteem and our sense of purpose. Where do you see yourself going? How do you see yourself managing? All of those questions come into this, and we need to be hopeful in order to achieve those things. Hope helps to push us forward from tragedy and towards a more hopeful future. Without hope, it's possible that our physical and mental health will be affected. And we know that three feelings around hopelessness are hopelessness, helplessness, and despair. And sadly, this has led to people feeling suicidal. People have felt they've wanted to take their life, and some people have indeed taken their lives. And that's because they felt those three things: hopeless, helpless, alone, isolated, all of those things that we've already talked about. It's usually hopeless, helpless, and despair. We do know also that those who are able to look forward and to be positive and hopeful tend to enjoy a better physical and mental health. So how do we adapt? What do we need to do? We need to change and challenge. What do we mean by that? Well, it's about remaining hopeful. How on earth can we do that? It's about being resourceful. Well, what can I do differently? How can I do differently? And motivated. Can I keep going with this? How many more days is this going to go on for? How many more weeks are we going to be in lockdown? When can we do more things? Helpful, being helpful to others. That as well helps ourselves to feel more part of something and to feel wanted and needed. And it also helps us to build our self-esteem. We need to build that and say, do you know, this has been pretty awful, and now we're coming through it. So it's just really interesting how we see those things. So building self-esteem. It helps us to renew our sense of purpose. So how? So change and adaptability. We need to be adaptable, rework, home, and us individually. So see change as a positive. Yeah, this is something that could be really good for us. Be flexible wherever you can. Try to let go of how things were and look forward to how it might be. Learn and grow from this situation. And take time and take stock. Maybe make a list of all you've achieved in lockdown. What sort of things have you done? And separate them out to what have I achieved in terms of work during lockdown? Well, it's probably around being adaptable. It's probably about new ways of working. It's probably about a greater knowledge of IT. All of those things are a positive thing, and you've achieved them. So at home, what sort of things have you done at home during lockdown? Many people have spoken about having good time with their children, even though they're homeschooling. Many people say they feel part of this relationship again. Make a list of how you've managed in terms of your health, your mental and physical health. Have you been affected by this? Have you still been able to do the things that matter to you? And then most importantly, ask yourself what you've done in terms of kindness and being good to yourself. What have you done? Make that list and list what you've achieved, because we've all achieved something in this. Draw up a plan. Now, in order to draw up a plan, we need to be positive. We need to think and know this is something I want, not wishy-washy like I may be or it might be good to, but I'm going to do this. So I'm going to do, I will do this. Your outcome, your goal needs to be positive. What is it? What might it be? Is it achievable? Things often fail because we set ourselves unreasonable goals that we can't possibly achieve. So I would say, is it a positive, and is it achievable? Can I do this? Or do I know someone else has done it? Maybe I can get help and support from them. Is it within my control? Well, the pandemic has certainly not been in our control, but our behavior within it has. So this thing that you want to achieve, or this positive that you're going to do, is it within your control, or is it conditional on someone else? If it's conditional on someone else, it's quite likely it's not going to work. You have to make it and own it for you. So ask again, is this thing positive? Is it achievable? Can I do it? Is it within my control? And does it fit me, the person I am or want to be? When I say that, I mean, is this something within your remit, or this is how you'd like to be? Is it fitting your values? Is it fitting your attitudes and belief? Because if it is, it's going to work for you. And do I have the resources to do this? Well, ask yourself about all those internal skills and qualities that you have. What do you know about yourself that's going to get you to do this? What resources do I need? So you may not have them all, but it's about saying, where can I find out about? What other resources are out there that's going to get me to enable me to do this? And the last one there is, how do I know when I've achieved it? Now that sounds a bit silly. Well, of course I'll know because I've got it. Not necessarily. What we have to do is give ourselves time scales. We have to say that, how will I know when I've achieved it? And put a time on the end. And I use this sort of analogy because I think it's quite a good one that we can all relate to. Supposing people want to lose weight. Well, we set a goal and we might say, I'm going to lose half a stone. That's quite doable. Yeah, I can do that. Some people are going to look at it and say, I want to lose 2 stone. And we go through all this list and it's positive, it's achievable. You know other people that have done it. You know it's within your control. You're the person who's eating or not. It will fit with you because that's what you want to be. And you do have the resources. You also know there are clubs and organizations that can help you with that. When do I know I've achieved this? Well, you would say, well, I've lost weight. But actually what people do here, you might say, when do you want this by? And people are going to say something like, well, Friday. That is not going to happen. That is not going to happen by Friday. So it's about small steps. And when you're drawing up this plan, be aware that you can go in and change it and review it. So the slides will be available, but I would really suggest, in order to maintain that hopeful outlook, that you draw up a plan of what you want and what you will do to achieve that. So the questions again are, is it positive? Is this thing something I really, really want to do? And if it is, you say, I will. Is it achievable? You're going to say yes. Is it within my control? Well, I might need to get my husband's help or my partner's help or my friend's help. No, you need to be able to do this for yourself. You're doing it for you. Does it fit you, the person you are or you want to be? Yes, or else you wouldn't be doing it. Do you have the resources? And that's where you think of all those skills that you have and all those things that you've learned during lockdown about yourself. How will you know you've achieved it? Because you will feel something. You will see an outlook. You will see things turning from hopelessness to hopefulness. And the time is, make small, manageable steps. Make this a review period. So you could say, well, I will start it today and I will review it next Monday. Reassess the goals. Make another date and try to get those goals to fit in with the things that you need to happen in those dates. If you don't have the resources, find out where to go to get them. There's so many things online now that you can tap into. So remember about hopelessness. We need to stay positive and move away from that hopeless feeling. We need to do it with care and with common sense. We need to be mindful of people around us. We need to be mindful of our own behaviour and how our actions may influence others. We have to use more positive language, not negative language, particularly around children, because they will pick up on that. So do what you need to do for you and congratulate yourself that you can get through it. Remember, we need to be hopeful because it motivates us. It gives us a sense of purpose. It gives us a sense of drive forward. This is what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. So I'm going to move on now to how Carefirst can help with this. As you all know, you access Carefirst via a 24-hour free phone number. You'll go through to a qualified counsellor who's going to ask you how they can help you right now. And when you start to talk about your issue, they're going to say something along the lines of, how is this going to affect your work? Or how is this going to affect you personally? Once you've had that session, that discussion with the counsellor, you can have several options open to you. You can contract to work with the same counsellor over the telephone in the same way as you would do face-to-face. You can have the face-to-face counselling, although at the moment that's not being offered face-to-face, but by Skype or Zoom or some other format that people can actually see the counsellor. We also have access to the information services. And I know I've said this before, initially at the beginning of the pandemic, the information specialists were very, very busy sorting out and helping people with the practical things that they needed, the practical things that they needed to do before they could start looking at the emotional impact. And then we move on to the management consultancy and advice. We're there for managers too. A manager can pick up the phone and say, I'm concerned about a member of my staff, or I've got an issue with my team, I just want to run this past you. And we're there as a sounding board for managers also. The Carefirst information specialist, as I've already said, can help you with immediate information. Things around money management or debt. consumer issues or benefits, employment matters, and childcare and elder care concerns. There's so much information there at Carefirst that you can access. There's also access to the Carefirst lifestyle site, and you will see on there circles around some of the wording. And when you log on to your own lifestyle site, there's information around how to manage at work, at home, around stress, alcohol abuse, all of the sorts of things that can help and support you practically. There's also a budget calculator. There's also a section for managers, and there's also a section on frequently asked questions. So Carefirst is available 24/7. It gives you counselling and information. Many of you have access to Carefirst Lifestyle, and many of you have access to Carefirst Zest. All of those are there to support and help you. And you'll find the number from Carefirst, to Carefirst rather, sorry, and that's going to be with your HR department, or some of you may have wallet cards and leaflets, and the Carefirst number that you need will be on there. I hope you've enjoyed today's session. I know it's a very short session, but I wanted to leave time for questions. So I'm just going to open the questions now. Okay. Yes, someone has said, will we have a copy of the slides? Yes, you can do. You'll have to just email us your details and we'll send them to them. Yeah, this second question, actually, I think it's the same question. People have asked this quite a lot. The biggest source of hopelessness has been people, either because they're not taking it seriously, they're disrespecting others and bending the rules. And I think, yes, that's right. Many people are out there not following the guidance. Many people out there aren't doing as we've been asked to do. And I just give Leicester an example. Unfortunately, this is something here as well. And because of that, that part of the country is now in lockdown. And we will see regional lockdowns. And it's a lot to do with people being out and about and not adhering to the information around social distancing, around not touching people, all of those things that we know. And I guess we do get angry when we see other people doing that, and we're not. But I think in order to stay hopeful for yourself, think about the positive things you're doing. Let other people do their thing, but you concentrate on you. And I do acknowledge that not doing it makes it bad for all of us. But it's about trying to move your mindset from that so that you don't get bogged down with it. Others here have said people have made more angry, selfish and centered instead of reaching out to others. I guess that is one thing. I do have to say, though, we've seen many examples of kindness, many examples of community spirit, where the community has come out in force to support someone, perhaps on a birthday, an older person that's having a birthday. They all will get the person in the street and sing happy birthday to them. So all of those sorts of things. There's another question here. Will seeing a counsellor cost much? Your organisation has paid for the counselling you have. So when you come through to Carefirst, there isn't a charge there. Someone here said that they were feeling anxious prior to COVID, and now the anxiety is worse than ever. Yeah, that's also quite common. If you're living with a mental illness such as depression or anxiety, and you were anxious before, it's quite likely that you will be anxious now as well. In fact, for some, it might have peaked because all the things that you try not to be anxious about are happening. So I would say, have a chat with us at Carefirst, see if we can help you in any way. And also, this person is saying that they're unable to separate home and work-life balance. And I think that's quite difficult if you are actually working from home. But many people prior to lockdown, I know because I'm the training manager at Carefirst, they used to say, if only I could have more time at home, if only I could have more time with my family, if only I had time to do a bit of research into something or enjoy something differently. Well, we've certainly had that time now. So it's about how have you used it productively? Yeah. And also, I've got a great question here. How do I support someone I care about who's feeling hopeless? I think to the person who's asked this, it's about asking where their hopelessness stems from. You're not going to be a counsellor or a therapist, but just say, well, what is it that you're feeling hopeless about? And try and work out how you can move them forward with that. Remember, you too can ring Carefirst and get some information and advice to support you in helping someone else. If we've got any mental health first aiders out there, if we've got any wellbeing champions or mental health first aiders and people who help and support within the workplace, do seek them out. Do see if their names and numbers are available to you. And for those of you who are a mental health first aider, be mindful that many people have got into this anxious and many people are coming out of it more anxious. Please don't lose sight of the fact of what we've all achieved during lockdown, all the things you've done that you didn't do before. Yes, we've done them differently, and that shows a huge amount of change and adaptation. It also shows a positive streak that we're looking toward. And I think some days, particularly if the weather's bad and you're shut in the house and you can't get out, people have thought, oh no, how long is this going to go on for? But, you know, it goes on and it goes on, and we come out of it. And I think it's about remembering that if you look forward and try and lose that hopelessness and move it to something more positive, we can get through this. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I've got someone who talks about having no motivation to doing anything to lift mood and spirits. I'm really sorry that you're feeling that. And I would say, given that I've read the rest of your statement here, is that you give us a call. You might find that you don't need to, or you might find that you don't want to, but the things you're describing here would indicate, you know, someone on the phone might help and support you and put you into a way where you do feel that there is some hope about all this. Yeah. I think, you know, you talk about quick fixes. There isn't a quick fix, only sure in the knowledge that we will come out of this in some shape or form. We will have learned from it. And though it might feel hopeless right now, it isn't going to feel hopeless forever. And I do know that when you're in that, you do feel as if it will be. And it won't be. It's just holding on to that and, you know, keeping the faith, really. Okay. I really would love to answer this, but I don't think I can. I'll tell you what the question is. It's what if your hopelessness is caused by the government's disregard for people? Yeah. I'm sure there have been lots of people thinking that. I'm sure, irrespective of your politics, watching the daily briefings, people are quite surprised at the way things are going. We can't do anything about that. I think if you're going to worry about things that are within your control and not that other people are managing. We've just got a few more minutes now. If there's any more questions, please type them in now, and then I will answer them and then we'll finish. If not, please email me at pat.garland-smith@care-first.co.uk, and I will respond to as many questions as I can. I'm going to close now. Thank you all very much for attending. As I said, I know it's a very short webinar, but I just wanted you to get through it and know that we're there to help and support you about any issue. It doesn't have to be to do with work. It can be personally as well. So thank you very much, all of you, for attending.